Hi everyone, and welcome back to Vitality's Happy Half Term. If you're already just joining us, then we've got loads of things to keep you happy, keep you healthy and keep you busy during the half term break. And there's loads of giveaways and prizes to be won as well. So make sure that you tag us in on all your activities and pictures and things that you're doing during this week. We'd love to see them. And yeah, make sure you use the hashtag Vitality Half Term.
Hello everyone, and welcome to what is the second session of the day as part of our Vitality Half-Term series. My name is Jamie and I'm one of the Vitality coaches, and I'll also be acting as the host for this evening's conversation. So the aim of the session really is to have an open and honest discussion about mental wellbeing with a specific focus on resilience and kind of motivation. So although the guests that will be joining us have a wealth of experience competing at the most elite level of world sport, what we're really interested in today is actually understanding their approaches to mental well-being on more of a personal level. So on that note, I will now introduce our guests. If you joined our workout earlier, you'd have seen that I was joined by Johnny Wilkinson for a rugby masterclass, where I showed him my lack of skills. And this evening we have another legend of rugby, just in a slightly different format. So James Rodwell is the most capped rugby sevens player ever. He won an Olympic silver medal in Rio. He has a Commonwealth bronze medal, and he's now also part of the GB coaching team. So James, how are you doing down there?
Hey Jamie, thanks for having me on tonight. Really looking forward to it.
Perfect. It's good to have you. James has fast become one of our leading sort of people to bring the conversation around mental well-being to the table, and he's also one of our Vitality Performance champions, so hopefully you guys have seen him before. Please do get your comments and questions in as well, and we'll make sure we pass them on. But as well as James, we also have Ellie Simmonds, who will be offering a slightly different perspective. Ellie is obviously one of the most recognized athletes in Paralympic sport, rising to stardom as she won 2 gold medals for GB in 2008 in Beijing, despite being the youngest member of the squad, aged just 13. James, honestly, I don't know about you, but at age 13, I'm fairly sure I wasn't even getting dressed. I don't know what I was doing, but there's no way I was winning an Olympic medal. So that is insane. But Ellie has now won a total of 8 medals across 3 Olympics, as well as 17 World Para Swimming Championships as well, and counting. So Ellie, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Thank you for having me, Jamie. I'm really looking forward to having a good chat.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's exactly what we're after tonight. And the two of you speak so openly and honestly, and I think that's really what we want to encourage. So if you're watching this and you want to get involved in the conversation, then please do find the comments. Put any questions you'd like me to ask Ellie and James. That's what my role is today. Or if you just want to add in your input along the way, please do that, and we'll make sure we bring it up on screen. So as well as the numerous sporting accolades that you two both do have, which is making me feel bad every time I mention it. Like I said, you do speak really, really brilliantly about this topic, and what we're hoping to do today is be realistic in detailing some of the challenges that you've both faced, but hopefully we can relate to our viewers today as well, leaving them with a sense of hope and positivity maybe, but let's see where it goes. So that's enough from me. We'll get straight into it. And like I said at the start, the discussion today is kind of about resilience, something which I know we've all had to rely on hugely in the last year or so. So Ellie, if I was to start with you on this one, do you have a definition of what resilience means to you?
To be honest, I think it can be very open words. I think it's changing all the time. From when I was a youngster, resilience was like trying to work hard, trying to like be as good as I could be, trying to like just soak in everything, the atmosphere and how I was changing. And I think now as a 26-year-old, as a bit of a more mature athlete and human, I think resilience is all about just trying to be who you are and trying to work hard and taking everything around you, but also like there's going to be days where you're not on it all the time, or you're going to be like not who you want to be, or you're low, or mental health is not doing well. I think resilient is just being who you want to be and trying to be as tough as you can.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think like you said it a few times there, but being who you are, and being happy about that. And James, over to you. Do you have would you say that resonates with you in your definition?
Yeah, I can fully resonate with that. I love Ellie's definition of resilience. I suppose I've always looked at resilience in a slightly different way, about just the overcoming of setbacks, and really delving into how you do that, and sort of the way forward. And I think when you said it's all, you know, almost individual for everyone, and I think that's really powerful, and something we should really understand, that you know, everyone's in a different situation. So what resilience looks to one person and what they're going through will be very different to someone else. And also the fact that what works for someone to get them out of a challenging situation won't necessarily work for you. So it's understanding yourself and how you overcome those challenges, I suppose, where I see resilience, and getting the most out of it, really. So whatever the challenge, how big or small it is how you can overcome them, and finding the positives in that situation.
Yeah, I think just some feedback for you both already. Started strong, fans already, so good work. I think that what, you know, everyone has a different definition, and that's totally fine. But what you both kind of mentioned there was about you're going to have days which are tough, you're going to have times which are tough, you're going to have setbacks. But maybe actually what resilience is taking action even when you have those things, and when you have those challenges, is that you still, like you said, Ellie, you're still quite tough. You still turn up and you still do the things that you need to do. And I wondered, because you both obviously speak so well, but so similarly about this kind of thing, I wonder whether the values and the disciplines you've learned as athletes has helped you cope with this pandemic over the last 12 months. And James, if I start with you on this one, I know you've had a slightly different perspective. So if you just want to give us some details about that as well.
Yeah, I think from a sporting background, it can really put you in a good place for resilience, and I think that the reason for that is that you've gone through lots of tough situations within a sporting environment, but you've got ways and support around you to help you get through it, so you can start to understand how you can best react to different situations. And I suppose from my perspective over the last 12 months. For me to get through this period, it's all about finding the positives and putting the perspective on the situation. And you know, I talked about it with you before, Jamie, but about this the situation we're in. We're all in the same situation, but we're all experiencing it in very different ways. Whether you know, for me, I've found so many positives during this period, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it's a terrible situation. But for me, that's how I can deal with it and get through it and find the good things around it, because that puts me in a really good mindset to think, actually, there's some really great things that have come out of this that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do or have if I was still in the same situation as before. So more time with the kids is probably the biggest one. Like having the time at home with my family has been something that, you know, I've missed every time I go away for a rugby tournament. And you know, this is the longest time I've been at home for 12 years. So to have that experience now is something that, yes, is not always great every day, but to have them and be with them so much has been incredible.
Yeah, and Ellie, just to let you know, James has told me a lot about his homeschooling, and he's learned so much, honestly. he might pass his year 6 exams. Fingers crossed, James, you just keep working hard.
I need to get through the year 2 ones first. I think they're more challenging.
I can't help with that, by the way. And Ellie, I think, yeah, James, you know, touched a little bit upon there about the positives and things like that. And you said it, I think, earlier about the, you know, the definition of resilience is to kind of recover quickly from difficulties or setbacks. So we were talking before we went live about, you know, you competing this weekend and how different the world is and how crazy it is, and some of the challenges. So I wondered, you know, thinking about the challenges aside, maybe, are there certain ways in which you cope with or you deal with these setbacks that you face? So what helps you sort of overcome these challenges that you'll inevitably have?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I relate exactly what how James has experienced this whole year and leading into 2021. I think for me, lockdown 1, I was like James, away from family all the time, and I was able to move back to my parents and stay with them for like 3 to 4 months, and that was like the longest I've actually been with my parents for a long time. And I think we got to know each other so well, and I think that's one of my big positives of this whole experience, this thing that we've overcome and been in, is the fact that it's definitely brought families and loved ones together. I think for me, I'm like I said, I raced this weekend. Very, very lucky that I've been able to still compete and being able to train. And with that, with training and competing, it's brought a sense of norm in a way. Lockdown 1, I was out the water for 3 to 4 months, which was strange. The longest time I've been out the water. I was still having showers and baths, but I mean, like swimming related stuff. Yeah. But with lockdown 2 and then lockdown 3 now, with the situation, they're allowing elite athletes to still train, which is amazing, as we've got the games happening in the summer. I think it's trying to, like, I'm a person who loves planning. Like, I live by my diary. I'm very, very like, oh, I have to be training at this time, I have to be training at that time, and I go to like gym at this time. And I think this year has really like made me realize I need to like be a bit more chilled in a way, because the days are changing every single day. And I think for me, I'm trying to like, because I'm so very like rigid about my ways and about like where I've got to be and how like, so like in a sense I'm like a horse in a sense, like I've got my blinkers on and I have to be here. And I think lockdown and the experience and the situation that we're all in has really had to change that. And I think for me, that's one of the big things I've overcome, and especially competing this weekend. I'm so used to, I've been competing since like 12, being a certain way. I do my routine, I go to the pool, I do a warm up, I do a race, and then I swim down, and then it's back to like a process. But leading up to this competition, like we couldn't have our coaches on poolside. They had to be in like a certain stand. We've had to have lots of COVID tests, which we've all had to bubble. And I think it's just trying to overcome those ways of, it's not norm at the moment. It's the new norm in a way. It's not how it was in the past. And I think that's quite hard. But we're all overcoming it, and we're all trying to change our ways.
Yeah,
Ellie, I've got a question for you around. So if you rolled back 12 months to sort of lockdown 1, and you started off with talking about there, and you said about suddenly you weren't in the pool, and it was 3 to 4 months, the longest period in ages that you haven't swum for.
Yeah.
How did you find that mentally, in terms of how sort of rigid you were with your process prior to that, in terms of overcoming, like not knowing when the next time you were going to be in a pool was?
I found that really tough. Like, yeah, very, very tough. It was a thing for me. I love being in control. I love knowing what I'm doing. And then all of a sudden that all went out the window. I found it really, really hard. And I think I was very lucky that I was around my parents, and realizing that it wasn't just our country that was in the same boat. I think everyone in the world is experiencing the same thing, but it was hard. And I think for me, like, I found different ways in which to be able to create a routine for myself. Like each week I would make a plan for what I was doing each day. So I was able to like do yoga. I made sure I did exercise majority of the time in the morning, because I found like in lockdown 1, my motivation was best in the morning. In the afternoons, my motivation would go and I wouldn't want to do anything. So I used to think, like, I used to work that as a process where I'll get my exercise done in the morning, where I'm at my like happiest and at my best. And then in the afternoon, I don't need to worry then, because I know already I've done what I need to do. But I think I found like making a plan for the week really helped me. But I think as the time was going on, I was just waiting for the news when things were going to open up, and I think everyone was experiencing that too. It was just trying to realize that my control was different, my plan was different, and it was trying to have a bit of a chill pill. But it was definitely for me what this past year and what this leading into now 2021, for me, I found myself, it's like I call it a corona roller coaster. Some days I'm okay, like I'm happy, I'm like, yeah, this is amazing, and then the next day it's like, oh, I want all this to end, I want to go back to normal. And it's just realizing that you're going to get days where you're high, you're okay, and then days when you're low, but everyone's in the same boat, and you just got to reach out to as many people as you can, but also accept the feeling as well. Like, don't feel bad that you're feeling low. Like, it's going to happen. It's a strange world at the moment, and it's okay not to be feeling okay.
Yeah, I think, Ellie, I'm calling it December the 52nd or something. I think we're on 2021. But James, I think that's a really good question. And I'm actually going to follow up to your follow-up question, if that's okay, because James knows that I had an injury last year, which sort of set me back for 6 months or so. And he knows all about it because I moaned him about it a lot, and he actually helped me a lot as well. But I know you've had injuries as well, James, similarly in the knee area. And just building on what Ellie said about what she found challenging about being away from the water for kind of 3 months, what I found difficult about being injured for such a long time was, like, in my mind, I thought, what if I don't come back stronger? What if I forget to do what I used to be able to do? And I know that you've obviously had injuries as well. So I was just wondering how it is that you've stayed, have you stayed positive, or how you've coped with these setbacks when it feels like life's on hold, but you somehow managed to get through it? Like, what is it that's helped you with those situations?
Yeah, I think if I sort of talk on an injury perspective a little bit, I think it's natural to be really frustrated at the beginning and almost vent on how you're feeling. And I think that's a really important part of the process in terms of resilience, is like to have someone to talk to and trust that you can just let out all the emotions, and vent about what's happened or how it's happened. And once you've cleared that out of your way, your mindset can really change to getting a focus on how you get better and how you get back to where you want to be. And the knee injury you're talking about, Jamie, it was just before Rio, and I dislocated my kneecap, and I thought that was my game's gone. And I had about 72 hours where I was in an emotional wreck, and you know, it's all I'd worked for is to get to an Olympic Games, and I had to try and understand what had happened, but to do that I had to have a clearer mind, and I needed to vent all of that first. But once I had the details on it, then I could set a plan, as you do, to get yourself in a really good place and the little steps to build it back up. And I think all of this is probably around talking around like a purpose on each day or week or what, and obviously planning helps with that, so you can actually see if you've achieved something or not. So for me, the purpose side of it is really important. And from people I've spoke to during this period, I think purpose is what a lot of people have been struggling with, not having the same purpose. And I struggled with it at the beginning of COVID, because suddenly I was furloughed and I wasn't seeing my team environment anymore, and wasn't in that day-to-day norm that I was used to. So what was my purpose of getting out of bed? And I had to really think about it, and how did I change my mindset to have a purpose, to actually think, oh, I've achieved something today. And it's not what I was expecting to achieve a month ago before that, but because I've achieved something, it allowed me to have that positive reflection on that day. And so I think purpose is finding the purpose allows you to create a really strong resilience to a situation.
I think we've both spoken there so much, so I'm trying to keep a track of all this. Notes, mainly for my own benefit, but you've spoken about kind of being flexible and adapting, and I think that comes back to accepting as well, Ellie. That's what you were talking about. Looking for support from others. But then the key to that as well is kind of having a purpose. And I think that you've all kind of, you know, what works for you is important, and what is your purpose, and making it relatable to yourself. You know, it's so easy right now, and I've definitely been guilty of it, to go on social media and to see people all over the world doing amazing things and looking at different countries, and how their rules are different to ours and things like that. And that is not helpful for me personally. What does work for me, like you, Ellie, is making sure I do my exercise every morning, or moaning to James about the fact that I haven't done the physio exercises he suggested to me that I know will work, but I don't want to do it. So I think that they're all really good pieces of advice. But if I could just move on to something now, which people struggle with as well, and I think it's hard to understand what we should and shouldn't be thinking about this. And James, if I start with you on this one, and it's about the kind of positive mindset and being resilient, and your angle on that. Like, do you have to be positive in order to be resilient? Do you have to be positive to progress? Like, what's your view on that kind of whole theory?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And do you have to be positive to be resilient? I think for me personally, and that's I suppose all I can really talk around is for me to be the most resilient I can be, I have to sort of delve into it and find the positives in a situation. And if I can do that, then that gives me a route out of the challenge, or how to overcome them. If you always look at the negatives, which is natural as a human, right? You know, if you're in a dark situation or a bad situation, it's really easy to think of the negative things, but how you can change them and think, actually, that's a challenge I've got. How do I overcome that little challenge? Or how do I change it to be, if I overcome that, it becomes a positive. So every negative situation, there will be a route out. It's just how you can frame it and put it into perspective. I suppose that especially around COVID at the moment, everyone's, as Ellie said, everyone's going through this. We're not alone. We're not, you know, we can all talk about it, but how do you find a way to sort of navigate through it to get the best out of the situation? So I suppose having a positive mindset is really difficult, and no one's going to have a positive mindset all the time, because it's impossible. but how you reflect on things and put things into not a positive spin on it, but find the opportunities, I suppose, with the challenge to get better is probably the way I look at it. So they are linked, yes, definitely, but you certainly can't be positive all the time because you'd have no energy left.
Yeah, yeah, and you'd probably be a bit of a liar as well, because I just don't think you can. And I think I'm going to say this word quite a lot today, but James, you said it as well, like perspective and relativity, like get things in your world in perspective and make sure you're comparing to the right places, or just focusing on what you need to do. And Ellie, I wondered if I could ask you kind of a bit about how you managed to stay positive. Obviously you had so many grand plans for 2020 like we all did, but yours were very, I assume, quite fixed in terms of you knew exactly what it is you wanted to do, and I assume that's probably rolled over to 2021. And has that really tested your ability to remain positive, or have you, like James, kind of found it in areas that you didn't expect?
To be honest, it's not been easy. I think like James was saying, it's hard to be positive all the time. I don't think we wouldn't be human if we didn't feel other emotions. I think the way I've tried to look at it is just to be open all the time. Like, it's definitely like having such a fixed plan last year going into January 2020, knowing that I was probably going to have trials, then the games, and then my plan after that would probably to have retired, and then seeing what other doors were going to open. And then all of a sudden I'm like, the games aren't happening this year. I've got to put all of this plan on a step back, and carry on doing what I'm doing. But I think, like James was saying, you change your mindset to look at positives in a different sense. Like, what I try and do now is, instead of looking at the long-term goals, we're trying to do the short-term goals. And I think for me, I'm reaching out to my friends and my loved ones more, and to give me the positivities that I need. Like, me and my friends, we message every single day, even still now, saying what the 3 things that we're grateful for today. It could be little things like, we've had a really good cup of coffee. It could be like, it's been snowing, even though sometimes the snow's a bit of a pain when you're driving, but it's like the little things. And I think for me, it's trying to reach from other positivities that I use, like going abroad all the time with like training and competitions, which I used to do in the past. We've been training, which we haven't done this year just because of everything, or meeting lots of people, which is hard because socially you can't do that. You're having to reach into Zooms. And I think it's trying to change that setting, to your mindset, to look at the little things at the moment. That's what I'm trying to really delve into at the moment.
Cool. Yeah, I think you mentioned about being grateful for some of the things that we never used to be. And I saw something the other day which was like, I'll never underappreciate a clean pair of tracksuit bottoms again, because like when you get them out and they're fresh, and like the smallest things, socks can be so great. Like, I never knew I'd love a sock as much as I do. And James, I know that we've discussed about kind of gratitude, because to be honest with you both, like, I have struggled with that in the past, because I've read things where they say, like, be grateful for everything. So this pen, you should be grateful. And I just can't. I like the pen, but I can't get overly excited about that. But what I can do is be grateful for a lot of the obvious things to me right now. And James, I just wanted to get kind of your input on gratitude, and whether that's something that works for you as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think gratitude all comes back to the sort of reflection on a period of time. And I sort of touched on it earlier, but I haven't traveled for such a long time now, and I've had that chance to spend time with my kids and my wife, which I wouldn't have had without this. So to be able to spin a really bad situation, to suddenly have that opportunity, and of course I'm grateful for it. Like, it's been amazing this period to have this much time at home. It doesn't mean that I'm not sort of disappointed or frustrated with the world as it is at the moment, but I've certainly found things to be grateful with. Like, I'm probably training more consistently than I was before as well, because I didn't have necessarily the time to be able to do that when coaching and that side of things. So the ability to have that at home and be able to get some training in on a day-to-day basis is actually an amazing thing, and I'm feeling great for it. So I suppose the thing I'm really interested in is all the things that we're grateful for now or have been during this period. When things do return to what we see as normal or the old normal, like how much of that, the things that we're grateful of, can we continue forward into that period? And that's where I think the real hard work will come, because for me, I've found finding things that I'm grateful of quite easy during this period, because it's almost still new. Like the experiences, like some of them are still, wow, yeah, I can't believe I'm getting a chance to do that. Whereas how much that can I take forward and still feel that gratitude and sort of great feeling in me when life does return back to normal, and you know, the work-life balance and all of that side is going to be really fascinating to look forward to. And if there's anything I could really take from this period, it's how much can I grab now to take forward with me.
Yeah, I intend on staying loyal to being grateful to my clean trousers and socks and things like that, but it's very easy to forget. And actually, on the note of positivity, I'm going to bring up a few comments, because people are, I think they're resonating with what you guys are saying. So there's lots of people saying there's great advice, great discussion. People are really resonating and relating to what you're both saying. So I think it's really important that we make sure that we're sharing these messages and people are talking about it. And actually, I honestly, James will know, Ellie, I had loads of questions planned. Going one route, and I haven't asked any of them, but I'm okay with that, because I wanted to ask you both a question, because you're, you know, looking forward. I feel like there is hope, and there is light at the end of the tunnel with everything that's happening at the moment. And you know, the idea now of actually going back to life as before, like James mentioned, how is that going to be for us? So looking ahead to this year, hopefully you'll both be going out to Tokyo. You'll be involved in the games in different ways. But my genuine question, I'll ask it to both of you, but Ellie first, like how are you feeling about it? Like, are you nervous? Are you excited? Like, can you explain what it is that's going through your mind at the moment?
To be honest, I think a mix of all emotions. I think what I've learned is, at the moment, it's really hard to like look into advance into well, when things are gonna go to some sort of normal, or what the situation is going to be. Like James was saying, is it going to be the new norm, or is it going to be the old norm? But I think for me, I'm just open to all. I think I'm excited to be able to see my friends and family all in one place, or whatever the situation will be with that. I think I'm looking forward to being able to go and represent my country and compete on an international level. Like, an Olympics and Paralympics is one of the biggest sporting events in the world, and it's a time where it brings not just the country together, but it brings the whole world together, and sport does an incredible thing. And I think the Olympics and Paralympics will be especially this year, with everything that's happened last year, and I think the whole world is in the same situation. I think this games is going to be one to remember, and it's going to be a massive positivity for everyone, and it'll bring so much joy for everyone, not just involved, but the people watching at home. And so to be part of that is very motivating, and it's very exciting. And yeah, it's nerve-wracking, because it's like we've gone from a year of just training, a year of just taking each day as it comes, to go into train and race at the elite level. But I think I'm just excited whatever it brings, and yeah, for the chance to travel maybe in the future, and to be able to see friends and family. I think just see where this year takes us.
Yeah, I think someone's asked a question here: is looking forward to things going back to normal, is that a good or a bad thing for your mental well-being, in your opinion? And I think what you've both highlighted is that obviously we would rather not be in this situation, but we can take a lot of things forward into hopefully what will be normal again. So I think that as long as you look forward, bringing some of the values that you've learned through this period, then I think it is a really positive thing. And James, again, similar question to you, really, like, how are you feeling? You know, it's going to be a very different games for you compared to last time, but your roles changed. You've learned a lot through this period. You know, we had a question as well earlier, like, do you feel like you've become more resilient after dealing with this pandemic? And, you know, has that affected your mindset going into the games as well?
Yeah, I'm certainly excited by the Olympics, just like Ellie. Obviously, it's a different situation for me. I won't be competing, but I'll be looking after both the men's and women's teams in some capacity to try and help them fulfill dreams and fulfill their potential. So It's certainly exciting. I think one thing I can really take away from this period in terms of looking forward to the games is how adaptable we've become. And Ellie talked about it earlier with competing the weekend just gone, and you know, is that the new norm that you're going to get tested? But actually what it's done that weekend is prepared you for what the Olympics could be like. So you know, if those things come into play, which is likely to be around testing and getting you ready for competition, you've already experienced it once, which is only going to strengthen your position in terms of your mindset around it. It's not going to put you off your game because you've experienced it already. So I think certainly we're becoming more open and adaptable to different situations. And I did have a question for you earlier, Ellie, about your diary and what it looks like this year compared to previous years. I'm imagining there's a lot less in there, and how does that make you feel?
Yeah, there is a lot less. I think it's different. And I'm trying to like plan exciting things. So like in my diary now, it's like Zoom, catch up with my friends on Zoom, or like trials in April, or hopefully then the games in the summer. So it's definitely looks a lot more quieter, but actually it's actually really nice because I'm actually able to take more time for myself. And I think that's what I really like, what I've learned about from this past year that it's bring is actually it's like instead of it being go all the time, like I'm sure James and Jamie, you guys know, it's like you get to spend more time at home instead of like how it used to be where you're like meeting or training or like go all the time, where actually now it's like you can just take a step back and you've got more chance to just breathe and not be rushing all the time, which I've actually learned a lot, that I'm going to say no to a lot of things where in the past I used to say yes to everything because I just don't like missing out on things. But actually now I'm like, no, I don't need to do that. Like now I can have a bit more me time, like don't need to be saying yes to everything.
Yeah, the power of no, and also you know, making sure that you get your priorities right, I think, as well, is something that we've all learned. Like Ellie, I'm glad that you've been able to fit things like this in, for example, because we may not have had this opportunity previously, but I think it also is going to be massively helpful to people. And you know, I think that question I just asked about how are you feeling, it wasn't a leading question, but my thoughts around that were, you know, if we'd have told everyone 12 months ago that this is how your year's going to look, and we asked them how they were feeling, I'm sure no one would say it would happen. I'm sure none of us would say it was possible, but we are sitting here, and one way or another we're here. We might be fitter, we might be less fit. That doesn't necessarily matter, but we've got 100% record of getting here. And so everyone is naturally resilient, and time is flying. But my last question to you both, if that's okay, is you know, you've kind of both opened up about mental well-being is a constant task. It's something that we all have to look after and really make sure that we're aware of constantly. So Ellie, if I start with you, like, what would your advice be to young viewers about the importance of not only being aware, but looking after your mental well-being, especially from someone like you who had just the world thrown at them at such a young age?
I'd say talking. That's one of the huge things for me. I think not bottling up so you all have to tackle it on your own. I think having those people and realizing that other people are there for you and want you to be okay and support you. And there's so many, not just people close to you, but people outside, that there's so many people that just to talk to. I think just not bottling it up and being able to reach out to lots of people, I think for me is like just chatting.
Just talk to anyone, anything, anytime.
Yeah.
James, if I could ask you the same question, but I guess now maybe if you could share your experiences as well about being a parent at the moment in particular. Like, is there some advice that you would give to parents watching? I know you've cracked it with the homeschooling and things like that, but yeah, what would you say to them?
I think the appreciation that everyone's in a really difficult situation with homeschooling. It's not the ideal. We all know that. And for me and my wife, it's about giving an opportunity to our children to do the best they can do in the environment that they're in. We've got a real understanding at the moment how difficult it is with the children not being at school, and we're seeing how that is affecting them. It's not always positive on that front, and you can see how much they're missing it. And I think probably relates a little bit to Ellie in the way she was talking about talking to people, but you know, the appreciation that the kids are really missing that social interaction, and they're really missing that that playtime with their friends, the ability to just go and run wild at times, and that's been really tough to see with our kids, and it's probably how we've tried to change our way of thinking to allow little small moments that we can really give them individual attention, which is always difficult when you've got two kids at home, because the other one always wants to join in if you're doing something fun. But how do you create that one-on-one moment for them to actually give them something to look forward to, and give them that sort of positive break from doing something that ultimately they don't want me teaching them, they want their teacher teaching them, because they're a hell of a lot better than me. But the more I can try and talk to them and say that, I'm really sorry, but this is the situation we're in, and I'm trying my best to help you get better. I know you would prefer to be there with your friends and your teacher, but that will come at some point. But let's try and do the best we can together to get through it. And I think it's important that they understand that it's not easy for anyone this period, and it's a lot harder for children to explain their emotions. So I think the more you can talk about it with them and help them understand that, the better it will be long term. And gosh, if they look back at this in 20 years time, 30 years time, and go, wow, yeah, I'm all right, and my dad managed to homeschool me and things are okay, like the reflective side of things, it will hopefully be all right, and we'll all be surprised. But I think just helping them understand that it is difficult, and we do understand it, as opposed to just thinking I've got to get it done really quickly because I've got a day of work to do as well.
Yeah, but James, I'm not a parent yet, but I've spoken to you a few times, and genuinely I think what is brilliant about what you just said is that you're not trying to say to your kids, trust me, I've got this covered, we're going to be perfect. What you're actually saying to them is, I don't know either, but we'll kind of get through it together. And I think that's a really cool way of thinking about it. I think we can all take a bit of that, and take this webinar, for example. I don't know what I'm doing, but we've made it through it. Hopefully people have enjoyed it. So I'm just going to try and summarize, because I think there's been a few key points that you both have mentioned that have been really important, that there's been themes throughout. So firstly, and I think most importantly, talking and being open and honest. That's exactly what we tried to do today, and you both have shared personal experiences, and I think just listening to that has helped, but hopefully talking about it has helped as well. And then it comes down to being flexible, being adaptable, being accepting, not feeling like you have to be positive all the time, and focusing on what works for you, trying to ignore the rest of the world right now. Put the blinkers on maybe a little bit, like you said, Ellie, and just focus on what it is that you can do. And at the end of that, work hard as well. And I'm sure we'll get through this together. So does that make sense? Do you think that covered roughly all of your wisdom?
You've done a good job there, Jamie, as always.
My book is a complete mess right now, trying to keep up with you both. That's how much you've shown. And actually, we have some more positive feedback, which is always worth sharing. So hopefully everyone enjoyed that home. Thank you for getting involved today. We really hope that this continues to be the catalyst, actually, for these types of conversations, making them more normal, making them more open. We're doing as much as we can at Vitality to support people's mental and physical well-being, as well as nutrition, obviously. So if you'd like to join us again tomorrow to get a little bit fitter and healthier, then tune in at 12:30. We'll be doing a live workout with heptathlete and another Olympic legend, Jessica Ennis-Hill. I'm sure you guys are all mates. So please, again, do look after yourselves. Make sure you keep on having these conversations. James and Ellie, honestly, you guys were brilliant tonight. So thank you for your help. And everyone else, in the meantime, do stay safe. Look after yourselves, and hopefully have a nice evening as well.
Thank you, guys. Thanks, James.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.